The Microsoft monopoly. How Bill Gates played dirty to win Imagine. Imagine building a company so dominant that the government of the United States takes you to court and tries to break you apart. Imagine being so powerful that even your competitors are afraid to speak against you. Imagine playing the game so ruthlessly that your name becomes synonymous not with innovation, but with monopoly. That's exactly what Bill Gates did. Today, we see Bill Gates as a philanthropist, a friendly billionaire who gives away his fortune to fight disease and poverty. But before the charity, before the kind-hearted public image, there was a different Bill Gates. A Gates who crushed competitors, broke the rules, and built one of the most ruthless monopolies in business history. Microsoft didn't win because it had the best products. It won because Bill Gates understood something most entrepreneurs never figure out. In business, being ruthless is more valuable than being right. And if you control the platform, you control everything. So how did a college dropout build an empire so powerful that it changed the rules of capitalism itself? How did Microsoft eliminate nearly every competitor in its path? And why did the US government step in to stop them? Today, we're diving deep into the dirty playbook that made Microsoft unstoppable, and the man who played the game better than anyone else. The deal that changed everything. IBM's biggest mistake. Bill Gates didn't invent the personal computer. He didn't invent DOS, the operating system that would make him rich. What he did do was position himself perfectly at the exact moment history was about to change. In 1980, IBM, the most powerful tech company in the world at the time, was developing its first personal computer. They needed an operating system. They approached Gates, who at the time was running a small software company called Microsoft. Gates didn't have an operating system to sell them, but he told them he did. Here's what happened next. Gates went to a programmer named Tim Patterson, who had created an operating system called QDOS, Quick and Dirty Operating System. Gates bought it for $50,000 without telling Patterson what he planned to do with it. He rebranded it as MS-DOS, licensed it to IBM, and structured the deal in a way that would define the next 3 decades of computing. IBM made a catastrophic mistake. They allowed Microsoft to retain ownership of DOS and to license it to other manufacturers. IBM thought the money was in hardware, the physical computers. Gates knew the real power was in software. Whoever controlled the operating system controlled the entire industry. And just like that, Gates had done it. Every PC manufacturer that wanted to compete with IBM had to come to Microsoft for an operating system. Microsoft collected licensing fees from everyone. Gates had inserted himself as the gatekeeper of the entire personal computer revolution, and he was just getting started. The Windows War. How Microsoft crushed every competitor. By the mid-1980s, personal computers were exploding, and every company wanted a piece of the market. Apple had the Macintosh with its revolutionary graphical interface. IBM had their PC standard, and dozens of other companies were building software that could compete with Microsoft. Bill Gates saw all of them as threats, and he dealt with threats the same way every time. He crushed them. Microsoft's strategy was simple, but devastatingly effective. First, they would announce a product, even if that product didn't actually exist yet. The announcement alone would freeze the market. Competitors who had real finished products would watch their sales collapse because customers decided to wait for the Microsoft version instead. By the time Microsoft finally released their product, often years late and buggy, the competition had already been destroyed. This tactic was so common it earned a name in the industry: vaporware. Microsoft became infamous for it. But the real power move came with Windows. Microsoft didn't just want to sell an operating system. They wanted to control the entire software ecosystem. So they started bundling. Windows came with Internet Explorer. It came with Windows Media Player. It came with built-in email, file management, and eventually everything a user might need. Why was this so devastating? Because if you were a software company building a web browser or a media player or any tool that competed with a Microsoft bundled app, you were dead on arrival. Nobody was going to pay for software that came free with Windows. And since Windows was on over 90% of all personal computers by the mid-1990s, Microsoft could kill entire markets just by deciding to enter them. Netscape Navigator, once the dominant web browser, was destroyed this way. Real Player, WordPerfect, Lotus 123, all obliterated. Microsoft didn't need to build better products. They just needed to bundle their version with Windows and wait for competitors to starve. The deals behind closed doors, exclusive contracts, and intimidation. But bundling was only part of the strategy. Behind the scenes, Microsoft was playing an even dirtier game, one that involved threats, exclusive contracts, and leveraging their dominance in ways that were later ruled illegal. Microsoft had deals with every major PC manufacturer: Dell, HP, Compaq, and others. These deals essentially said, if you want to sell PCs with Windows, and you had no choice but to sell PCs with Windows because that's what customers demanded, then you couldn't pre-install competing software. You couldn't promote Netscape. You couldn't feature alternative Office software. Everything had to be Microsoft. If a manufacturer tried to resist, Microsoft would threaten to raise the licensing fees or delay access to new versions of Windows. Since no PC company could survive without Windows, they had no leverage. Microsoft controlled the gate, and everyone had to pay the toll. There were also reports, confirmed later in court documents, that Microsoft would approach potential partners of competitors and essentially say, work with us, or we'll make sure your product never runs properly on Windows. It was extortion dressed up as business negotiation. This wasn't competition. This was market manipulation on a scale rarely seen in modern capitalism. The trial, when the government stepped in. By the late 1990s, Microsoft's dominance had become so extreme that the US Department of Justice filed one of the most significant antitrust lawsuits in history. United States v. Microsoft accused the company of abusing its monopoly power to crush competition and harm consumers. The trial revealed everything. Internal emails showed executives openly discussing strategies to cut off Netscape's air supply. Documents proved that Microsoft had threatened manufacturers. Testimony from competitors painted a picture of an industry held hostage by one company. Bill Gates himself was called to testify, and his performance was disastrous. He was evasive, defensive, and at times appeared almost contemptuous of the legal process. Video of his deposition became infamous. Gates claiming he didn't remember meetings, didn't understand terms, and couldn't recall strategies that were clearly documented in Microsoft's own emails. In 2000, the judge ruled against Microsoft. The company was found guilty of maintaining a monopoly and engaging in anti-competitive practices. The initial ruling called for Microsoft to be broken up into two separate companies. It was one of the harshest penalties ever proposed against a tech giant. But Microsoft fought back. They appealed, they lobbied, and eventually, under a new presidential administration, they reached a settlement that allowed them to remain intact in exchange for oversight and some restrictions on their business practices. Microsoft survived, but the damage to Gates's reputation was done. The ruthless businessman behind the friendly nerd persona had been exposed in open court. The legacy of playing dirty. Bill Gates didn't build Microsoft by being the nicest guy in the room. He built it by being the smartest, the most strategic, and when necessary, the most ruthless. He understood that in a winner-take-all market, second place is irrelevant, and he was willing to do whatever it took to make sure Microsoft was never second. Today, Gates has reinvented himself. The Bill Gates Foundation is one of the most powerful philanthropic organizations in the world. He's respected, admired, and seen as a force for good. But that legacy was built on a fortune accumulated through tactics that were later ruled illegal. Microsoft's monopoly reshaped the entire tech industry. It set the playbook that companies like Google, Amazon, and Facebook would later follow. Control the platform, bundle aggressively, eliminate competition before it becomes a threat. The question we should ask is not whether Bill Gates was wrong. The question is whether the system that allowed him to do it is broken. Bill Gates played the game better than anyone else in his era. He saw the rules, he bent them, and when bending wasn't enough, he broke them. And by the time anyone stopped him, he'd already won. The monopoly tactics of the 1990s aren't gone. They've just evolved. Every time you see a tech giant buying a competitor, bundling services, or leveraging one dominant product to crush another market, you're watching the Microsoft playbook in action. If this video made you see Bill Gates differently, hit that like button and subscribe for more stories that go deeper than the surface. Because history isn't written by the people who play fair, it's written by the people who win. And Bill Gates won.